A hilarious dive into medieval hygiene. Yo, what's good, fam? Buckle up, silence those notifications, and let's yeet ourselves back to the grimy, glorious Middle Ages for a wild ride through the nasty world of medieval hygiene. Picture this, it's 1347, and you're stuck in a European village where personal care is as rare as a Wi-Fi signal. If you think forgetting to shower for a weekend is bad, wait till you see how these folks lived. We're diving into 3 juicy facts about how medieval Europeans stayed fresh. Spoiler, they didn't. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment with the grossest hygiene hack you've ever tried. Ready to smell the chaos of the 14th century? Let's roll. You've just been zapped to London, England, in the spring of 1347, right before the Black Death turns Europe into a horror movie. The vibe is straight out of a gritty Game of Thrones episode, but with 0 dragons and way more mud. You're standing in a narrow street in the Cheapside district, where the air slaps you with a stench like rotting fish, unwashed gym socks, and a dumpster that's been vibing since last Christmas. Your outfit is a wool tunic that itches like a cheap Halloween costume, and your shoes are soggy leather napkins that squish with every step. The locals are giving you the stink eye because you've got clean fingernails, a dead giveaway you're not from around here. You're starving, so you grab a pie from a street vendor, but it's got chunks of something that could be mutton or regret. One bite, and your stomach's already sending an SOS. Then, oh no, you sneezed. In 2025, you'd pop an antihistamine and scroll TikTok. Here? That sneeze is about to launch you into a hygiene nightmare that makes Saul look like a rom-com. Fact 1. Bathing was a rare, suspicious event in medieval Europe. First up, let's talk about the biggest hygiene plot twist in medieval Europe. Bathing was basically optional, and most folks thought it was straight up dangerous. Welcome to London, 1347, where the idea of jumping in a tub is as wild as suggesting you live stream your tax return. The streets of Cheapside are a muddy maze, lined with timber houses that lean like they're drunk. You dodge a pile of horse dung and, splash, step in a puddle that smells like it's plotting your demise. You're desperate for a shower, but the locals look at you like you just suggested flying to Mars. Why? Because in the 14th century, people believed bathing opened your pores, letting miasma, bad air, sneak in and make you sick. This wasn't just a random vibe check, it came from medical texts by guys like Galen, a 2nd century Greek physician whose ideas were still gospel in 1347. Doctors in London, like Master John of Aldgate, would tell you that soaking in water was a one-way ticket to the plague, fever, or even demonic possession. Compare that to your 2025 obsession with lavender-scented body wash, and you're ready to cry. You stumble into a tavern called the Rusty Tankard, hoping for a drink to forget this nightmare. The air inside is thick with smoke, sweat, and the faint whiff of ale gone bad. You spot a grizzled dude named William, a tanner with a beard like a bird's nest and a smell that could knock out a horse. Bathing? William snorts, chugging his ale. That's for fools and Frenchmen. I ain't been wet since the king's coronation. He's not kidding. Most folks in London only bathed a few times a year, usually before big events like Easter or a wedding. Historical records from the close rolls of Edward III, circa 1347, show that even nobles like the Earl of Warwick preferred dry cleaning with linen cloths over full-on baths. Water was a hassle to heat, and firewood was pricey. Think $50 for a single Starbucks run. So, people just wiped their faces with damp rags and called it a day. You're gagging, but William's proud of his natural musk, which smells like a landfill on a hot day. The vibe gets weirder when you learn some monks took this to the extreme. In nearby St. Albans Abbey, monks like Brother Thomas followed the rule of St. Benedict, 6th century, still a banger in 1347, which praised mortification of the flesh. Translation? No baths, ever, because staying dirty was holy. Brother Thomas brags he hasn't touched water since the Great Famine of 1315, and his robe smells like it's hosting a bacteria convention. You're thinking, dude, Jesus would approve of soap, but Thomas is all in, calling it bathing in faith. It's like those 2025 influencers who skip showers to save the planet, but with extra fleas. Fun fact, the Chronicle of Lanercost, a 14th century English record, mentions peasants bathing in rivers during summer, but only if they were already fetching water. Otherwise, they'd rather stink than sink. This no-bath life had consequences. Without regular cleaning, skin infections like scabies were as common as TikTok trends. The London Assize of Nuisance, 1340s, records complaints about neighbors dumping foul water, aka bathwater mixed with who knows what, into streets, proving baths were rare but messy when they happen. You're dodging these puddles, wondering if you can invent deodorant 700 years early. The irony? Medieval folks weren't clueless. They knew dirt was gross but thought water was riskier. It's like us avoiding 5G because we think it'll fry our brains. By the time you leave the rusty tankard, you're sweaty, itchy, and swearing off time travel. But hold up, the hygiene train wreck is just getting started. Fact 2. Public bathhouses were a hot spot until they got cancelled. Still in London, 1347, and the stench is hitting you harder than a bad Yelp review. You're desperate to feel clean, so you ask William about baths. He points you to a public bathhouse on Stew Lane, near the Thames River, promising it's the closest thing to a medieval spa. You trudge through the muddy streets, passing butchers tossing guts into the gutter and kids playing in what you hope is just mud. The bathhouse is a squat stone building with steam leaking from the windows, and the sign reads Stew's Baths, EST 1290. You're hyped, thinking it's like a 14th century Soul Cycle with tubs. Spoiler, it's more like a frat party with extra bacteria. Inside, the air is hot and sticky, smelling like boiled cabbage, wet wool, and a hint of what died in here. Wooden tubs line the room, filled with murky water that looks like it's been reused since the Magna Carta, 1215. For context, the bathhouse is packed, merchants, housewives, even a shady guy who looks like he's plotting a heist. You're handed a linen towel by Mistress Agnes, the bathhouse keeper, who's got a vibe like your aunt who's way too into essential oils. 3 pence for a dip, she barks, and you fork over your coins, hoping for a miracle. The water's lukewarm, and you're sharing a tub with a baker named Ralph who smells like sourdough and regret. You're like, this is my spa day, but Ralph's vibing, splashing like he's at a medieval Coachella. Public bathhouses were a big deal in early medieval Europe, especially in cities like London, Paris, and Florence. The pipe rolls of 1300 show London had at least 18 bathhouses, called stews, where folks could soak, socialize, and sometimes grab a meal. These places were straight out of a 13th century Yelp ad. Think communal tubs, live music, and ale on tap. The Liber Albus, a 1419 London record, reflecting 14th century practices, describes bathhouses as houses of good repute, but let's be real, they were also hookup spots. You're side-eyeing Ralph, who's winking at a maid across the room, and you're pretty sure this place doubles as Tinder. 1347. The water's gross, but it's better than nothing, so you dunk your head and pray you don't catch something worse than fleas. Here's the kicker, bathhouses started getting cancelled by the late 14th century. The church, led by killjoys like Bishop John of Rochester in 1345, called them dens of sin because, surprise, people did more than bathe. The Canterbury Tales, written circa 1387 by Geoffrey Chaucer, based on 1340s culture, hints at bathhouses as shady spots where knights and maids got frisky. Then the Black Death hit in 1347, and folks like London's mayor, John de Pulteney, freaked out, thinking bathhouses spread miasma. By 1350, the London Guildhall records note many stews were shuttered, and those left open were stricter, with separate hours for men and women. You're soaking in this tub, realizing you're in the last days of bathhouse glory. The water's turning gray, Ralph's singing off-key, and Agnes is yelling at a drunk to stop peeing in the tub. It's like a music festival porta-potty, but you're paying for it. The decline of bathhouses left hygiene in the dust. Without them, most Londoners went back to wiping their faces with rags and calling it a day. The Chronicle of Greyfriars, 1350s, mentions foul odors in the city, and you're living that truth, gagging as you climb out of the tub, your skin's still gritty, and you're pretty sure you're dirtier than before. It's like booking a luxury Airbnb and finding mold in the shower. You stumble out of Stew's Baths, vowing to invent plumbing if you ever get back to 2025. But the hygiene horror show ain't over yet. Fact 3. Brushing your teeth was barely a thing. You read back on the streets of London, 1347, smelling like a wet dog and feeling like you just survived a bathhouse apocalypse. Your mouth tastes like that pie from earlier, and you're desperate to freshen up. You ask Agnes for a toothbrush, and she laughs like you just requested a spaceship. Welcome to Fact 3. Brushing your teeth was basically non-existent in medieval Europe, and dental care was a DIY disaster. You're in the shadow of St. Paul's Cathedral, where the market square is buzzing with fishmongers, bakers, and a tooth puller named Godfrey who's waving a rusty pliers like it's a Grammy award. You're like, please, just give me some Colgate. But Godfrey's your only hope, and his dental office is a wooden stall that smells like despair. Medieval Europeans had zero concept of modern dental hygiene. The Regimen Sanitatis Salernitanum, a 13th century medical text, widely used in 1347 London, suggested cleaning teeth with a cloth or chewing herbs like sage to purify the mouth. But most folks, like the peasants you see haggling over turnips, didn't bother. You spot a merchant named Emily, who's got a smile like a jack-o'-lantern gone wrong, blackened stumps and gaps where teeth used to be. She offers you a toothstick, a twig from a hazel tree, and says, chew this, it'll fix ya. You give it a try, and it's like gnawing on a pencil that tastes like dirt. Emily swears it's the latest trend, but your gums are screaming, and you're pretty sure you just swallowed a splinter. It's like using a TikTok life hack that leaves you worse off. For the fancy folks, things were slightly better. The household accounts of Eleanor de Montfort, 1290s, still relevant in 1347, show nobles in London using mouthwashes made of wine, vinegar, or mint-infused water. You crash a banquet at the Guildhall, hoping to score some of this VIP treatment. The hall is lit with torches, and the air smells like roast pig, wax, and BO. A noblewoman, Lady Margaret, offers you a sip of her dental tonic, wine mixed with aniseed that burns like cheap vodka, keeps the teeth white, she says, flashing a grin that's more yellow than a minion. You take a swig, and it's like gargling nail polish remover. Your mouth's still gross, and you're wondering if Lady Margaret's ever heard of fluoride. It's like those 2025 oil-pulling trends that sound cool but do nothing. The lack of dental care had brutal consequences. The Archaeological Journal, studying 14th century London skeletons, shows most adults had cavities, abscesses, or missing teeth by age 30. Sugar wasn't big yet, but starchy diets and no brushing let plaque run wild. You're wincing as Godfrey pulls a molar from a screaming customer, blood splattering like a Tarantino flick. He offers to clean your teeth with a cloth dipped in salt, but it feels like sandpaper on your gums. The London Coroner's Rolls, 1340s, even mention deaths from tooth infections spreading to the brain. Yep, a cavity could yeet you to the afterlife. You're dodging Godfrey's pliers, thinking, I'd rather keep my teeth, thanks. The crowd's cheering like it's a medieval UFC match, and you're ready to bolt. It's like going to a sketchy dentist who's also a part-time butcher. By the time you escape the market, your mouth's a war zone, and you're dreaming of a toothbrush. Medieval dental care was a mix of ignorance, desperation, and, trust me, bro energy. You're stuck in 1347, smelling like a bathhouse reject, with teeth that feel like they're plotting a mutiny. The hygiene struggle is real, and you're wondering if you can invent crest before the plague hits. Spoiler, you can't, but you've got stories for days. You've just been zapped to Lammen, modern-day Hangzhou, China, in the summer of 1127, right after the Southern Song dynasty set up shop here to escape the Jurchen invaders. The city's a masterpiece, think neon-lit Tokyo but with pagodas and no electricity. You're standing on the bustling Qingtian Street, where canals shimmer under willow trees, and the air hits you with a mix of jasmine incense, fried dough, and a whiff of did someone dump fish guts in the alley? Your fit is a silk robe that's smoother than your best athleisure, but it's sticking to you in the humid heat, like wearing a sauna. Your sandals slap against the cobblestones, and you're dodging merchants hawking silk fans and kids chasing a stray duck. You're starving, so you snag a sesame pancake from a vendor, but it's so oily your fingers look like they've been to a KFC. One bite, and your stomach's like, bold choice, bro. Then, cough, you choke on some dust from a passing ox cart. In 2025, you'd grab a Zyrtec and vibe. Here? That cough's your VIP pass to the Song Dynasty's hygiene circus, and it's about to get fancy. Fact 4, bathing and beauty were straight-up art in Song Dynasty China. First up, let's talk about the Song Dynasty's obsession with bathing and beauty, which was basically an art form in 1127 Lammen. You're weaving through Qingtian Street, sweating like you just ran a 5K in a onesie, and you're desperate for a shower. The locals, rocking silk robes that scream, I'm a big deal, Look at you like you're a peasant because your face is shinier than a TikTok filter gone wrong. Bathing here isn't just about getting clean, it's a whole vibe, like a 12th century spa day with extra flex. The Mong Luong Luke, Dreams of Splendor, a 1187 text by Wu Zimu, describing 1120s Lamin, spills the tea. Bathing was a daily ritual for the rich, a status symbol for merchants, and even peasants splashed in canals when they could. Unlike London's water equals demons nonsense, the Chinese saw bathing as health, beauty, and a flex against bad spirits. It's like how we post our skincare routine on Insta to prove we've got our life together. You follow a crowd to the Fragrant Lotus Bathhouse, a 2-story wooden palace near the West Lake, built circa 1100 during Emperor Huizong's reign. The air outside smells like lotus blossoms and charcoal, but inside? It's a sensory overload, steamy clouds, sandalwood incense, and a faint tang of herbal soap that's giving lush vibes. You're greeted by Madame Li, a bathhousekeeper with a smile like she's selling you a timeshare and hair pinned up like a Tang Dynasty influencer. 5 coppers for a soak, she chirps, and you hand over your coins, hoping for a glow-up. The bathhouse is lit with lanterns, and the wooden tubs are carved with dragons, filled with steaming water infused with mugwort and chrysanthemum. You're like, this is the VIP treatment, but then you see 10 other people sharing the same tub, splashing like it's a community pool. It's like booking a luxury spa on Groupon and realizing it's a hot tub party. The Song Dynasty took bathing seriously. The Yingzhou Fashi, a 1103 architectural manual, details bathhouses with heated floors and water piped from springs, a flex London couldn't dream of. Rich folks like Scholar Zhang, who's soaking next to you in a tub, had private bath chambers at home, complete with bronze mirrors and jade combs. Zhang brags he bathes twice a day, morning to clear the mind, evening to purify the soul. You're jealous, but also wondering how he affords the firewood. Poorer folks used public bathhouses or canals, as noted in the Dongjing Minghua Lu, 1147, describing Song life. Soap was a game-changer, made from tea seeds or sapinin plants. It lathered like a dream and smelled like a botanical garden. You're scrubbing with a soap ball Madame Li gave you, and it's like using a $20 L'Occitane bar, but you're still sharing water with Zhang, who's humming a tune that's basically medieval lo-fi beats. This bathing obsession wasn't just vanity. It tied to Confucian and Taoist beliefs about harmony and purity. The Huangdi Neijing, a medical text from 200 BCE, still hot in 1127, said clean skin balanced your qi, like how we chug kombucha for gut health. But it wasn't all perfect. The Songshi, Song Dynasty History, compiled 1345, mentions bathhouses getting crowded, with water reused until it looked like boba tea gone wrong. You're feeling cleaner, but Zhang's splashing is giving you second thoughts, and Madame Li's yelling at a kid for dropping dumplings in the tub. It's like a music festival hot tub, but with better aesthetics. By the time you climb out, your skin's softer, but you're wondering if you just bathed in someone's soup. Bathing in Song China was a flex, but it came with a side of chaos. Fact 5, toothbrushing and hair care were next level in Song Dynasty China. Yuri out of the bathhouse, strolling along West Lake in Lamin, 1127, feeling like a semi-clean K-drama star, but your mouth's a problem. That sesame pancake left your teeth feeling like they're wearing sweaters, and you're desperate for a toothbrush. You ask Patricia Lee for help, and she hands you a bamboo toothbrush that's so legit you're ready to cry. Welcome to Fact 5. Song Dynasty China had toothbrushing and hair care so extra, it'd make your 2025 dentist jealous. You're near the Sioux Causeway, where lotus flowers bob in the breeze, and the air smells like lake water, grilled fish, and a hint of did that guy just fart? You're dodging poets scribbling on fans and ladies in silk who look like they stepped out of a skincare ad. Dental care here is no joke, and you're about to get schooled. The Song Dynasty was light years ahead of Europe's chew-a-stick dental game. The Wujing Zongyao, a 1044 military text, but it spills hygiene tea, mentions toothbrushes made from bamboo or bone, with boar hair bristles that were softer than your best makeup brush. You're holding one, and it's like an artisanal Etsy find, polished wood, bristles tied with silk thread. Patricia Lee gives you a paste of ground herbs, mint, ginseng, and salt, that smells like a hipster tea shop. You start brushing, and it's like using a $50 electric toothbrush, but manual and with extra flex. The paste stings, but your teeth feel cleaner than after a dentist visit. You're like, Why isn't this on Amazon? But Patricia Lee's already selling you on hair care. Pointing to a stall where a barber named Charles is working magic, hair care was the song. Dynasty's glow-up secret. The Mont Luong Luke describes women, and some men, spending hours combing their hair with ivory or jade combs, oiled with camellia or sesame to make it shine like a Pantene ad. You sit down with Charles, who's got a vibe like a TikTok barber with 2 million followers. He's combing a merchant's wife, Susan Wu, whose hair is longer than a CVS receipt and smells like a floral bomb. Charles offers to oil your hair, and you're like, sign me up. He slathers on camellia oil, and it's like a deep conditioner from Sephora, but stickier. Your scalp's tingling, and you're feeling like a Song Dynasty influencer. Ready to post #hair goals if only Instagram existed. Charles brags that Emperor Gaozong, RV 1127 to 1162, has a team of barbers who comb his hair 100 strokes daily. It's like the medieval version of a Kardashian beauty routine. This dental and hair game had roots in health and status. The Huanbi aging linked clean teeth to strong qi, and shiny hair showed you weren't a broke peasant, but it wasn't perfect. Poorer folks used willow twigs instead of brushes, and the Songshire notes tooth decay was still a thing, especially from sugary rice cakes. You're brushing away, but Susan Wu's gossiping about a guy who lost all his teeth to bad qi, and you're wondering if your pancake habit's a risk. Charles is combing your hair so hard you're seeing stars, and the oil's dripping like you're in a deep fryer. It's like getting a makeover at a music festival, fancy but chaotic. By the time Charles is done, your teeth are minty, your hair's gleaming, and you're ready to slay, until you realize you're still in 1127. Fact 6. Urban toilets in Song Dynasty China were surprisingly sophisticated. Yuri strutting through Lammen, 1127, feeling like a freshly bathed, minty-toothed, glossy-haired legend, but nature's calling. And it's not for a selfie. You need a bathroom, but you're terrified it's gonna be a ditch or a bucket. Surprise. Fact 6. Song Dynasty cities like Lammen had toilets and sewage systems that were low-key bougie for the 12th century. You're near the Phoenix Hill Market, where stalls sell everything from silk to spicy noodles, and the air's a mix of chili oil, lotus, and a suspicious sewer vibe. You ask Charles for a restroom, and he points you to a public latrine behind the market, built during Emperor Renzong's reign, circa 1040, and you're bracing for a porta-potty nightmare, but this is next level. The latrine is a stone building with tiled roofs, like a mini pagoda for pooping. Inside, there's a row of wooden seats over a stone channel, and water flows through it like a medieval bidet. The Yingzhou Fashi, 1103, describes these water closets in cities, with sewage piped to canals or pits. Outside town, you're sitting there, feeling like royalty compared to London's dump in the street energy. The latrine's cleanish, thanks to a worker named Robert Wang, who's sweeping with a broom and muttering about lazy nobles clogging the pipes. It smells like damp stone and herbs. Someone's burning mugwort to mask the stench, but it's better than the open pits you saw in the countryside. You're like, is this a 5-star Yelp review? But then Robert Wang warns you not to drop your robe in the channel, and you're praying for coordination. Lammen's sewage game was a flex. The Mont Luong Luke notes the city had over 1,000 latrines for its million residents, plus canals flushed by monsoon rains. Rich folks had private toilets, like John Zhang's mansion, with ceramic seats and incense burners. The Songshire mentions laws fining people for dumping waste in streets, showing hygiene was serious business, but it wasn't perfect. Rural areas used pits, and poor neighborhoods had overflowing latrines, as recorded in 1120's tax complaints. You're relieved, pun intended, but Robert Wang's yelling at a kid for tossing bones in the channel, and you're dodging a splash like it's a water park gone wrong. It's like using a fancy festival toilet before the lines get crazy. Is classy, but chaos is near. You leave the latrine, thanking the Song Dynasty for not making you squat in an alley, and wondering if you can pitch indoor plumbing to Emperor Gaozong. We're ditching the black-tooth swagger of Kamakura for the steamy hammams of Baghdad and the starlit baths of Timbuktu. Picture a vibe that's half Aladdin Bazaar, half Desert Festival, with incense, camel caravans, and hygiene hacks that'll make you rethink your shower routine. We're diving into 4 epic facts about how folks in 833 Baghdad and 1324 Timbuktu kept it fresh, or at least tried. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment with the wildest spa day you've ever had. Ready to vibe with medieval Middle Eastern and African cleanliness? Let's yeet. You've just been zapped to Baghdad, Iraq, in the summer of 833, during the Abbasid Caliphate's golden age under Caliph al-Ma'mun. The city's a cultural supernova. Think Dubai, but with more domes and no skyscrapers. You're standing in the round city's cart market, where alleys buzz with spice vendors, silk traders, and poets spitting rhymes like it's an open mic night. The air slaps you with a mix of saffron, sweat, and a whiff of is that a camel or a sewer? Your fit is a linen robe smoother than your best athleisure, but it's soaking up the heat like a sponge. Your sandals stick to the dusty tiles, and you're dodging donkeys and kids chasing a stray goat. You're starving. So you grab a flatbread stuffed with dates from a vendor, but it's so sticky your fingers look like they've been glazed. One bite, and your stomach's like, you're testing me, bro. Then, cough, you choke on some desert dust. In 2025, you'd grab a Benadryl and scroll X. That coughs your VIP pass to the Abbasid Hygiene souk, and it's about to get steamy. Fact 10. Hammams were the social and spiritual hub of Abbasid Baghdad. First up, let's talk about hammams. The ultimate bathhouses that were like social media and church rolled into one in 833 Baghdad. You're melting in cart market, your robe sticking to you like a bad Tinder date, and you're desperate for a bath. The locals, draped in embroidered tunics, side-eye you because your sweaty forehead's shinier than a TikTok filter. Hammams weren't just about getting clean, they were where you prayed, gossiped, and flexed your status. The Kitab al-Tabiq, a 10th century cookbook, reflecting 833 practices, spills the tea. Bathing was a religious must before the 5 daily prayers, wudu, and hammams were community hubs where deals were made and shade was thrown. It's like how we hit the gym to flex and network, but with more steam and fewer protein shakes. You follow a crowd to the Great Hammam of Razafa, a marble palace built circa 800 under Harun al-Rashid, near the Tigris River. The air outside smells like river mud and jasmine, but inside? It's a sensory explosion, steamy clouds, rosewater mist, and the tang of olive oil soap that's giving Sephora vibes. You're greeted by Emily Layla, the hammam keeper, who's got a vibe like your aunt who runs a crystal shop and knows all the tea. 10 dirhams for a scrub, she barks, and you fork over your silver, hoping for a glow-up. The hammam's a maze of domed rooms, with mosaic tiles and fountains that make it look like a Pinterest board for luxe bathrooms. You're handed a linen towel and led to a steam room where merchants, scholars, and a shady poet named David are sweating like they're in a CrossFit class. You're like, this is my spa day. But then Emily Layla starts scrubbing you with a loofah that feels like sandpaper, and you're rethinking your life choices. Hammams were engineering marvels. The Baghdad Chronicles, 9th century, described them with underfloor heating, hypocausts, and water piped from the Tigris, a flex Europe couldn't touch. You re-soaking in a warm pool, feeling like a sultan, while David's debating theology with a merchant who's getting a massage. Soap, made from olive oil and lye, lathers like a dream, and Emily Layla's slathering it on like she's icing a cake. The Risala of Al-Jaiz, circa 850, reflecting 833 culture, notes hammams were so popular that even peasants saved up for a weekly scrub, but it wasn't all glam. Crowded hammams could spread rashes, and the Kitab al-Aghani, 10th century, mentions fights over prime soaking spots. You're chilling, but David's splashing like a kid in a kiddie pool, and Emily Layla's yelling at a guy for dropping falafel in the water. It's like a music festival hot tub with better architecture. You leave the hammam, skin glowing but ego bruised from the scrub, ready for the next hygiene adventure. Fact 11. Dental and hair care were elite with sawak and argan oil in Baghdad. You out of the hammam, strolling along the Tigris River in Baghdad, 833, feeling like a freshly steamed dumpling but with a mouth that tastes like that date flatbread gone wrong. Your hair's frizzing in the desert heat, and you're desperate for a toothbrush and some gel. You ask Emily Layla for help, and she hands you a sawak stick and a vial of argan oil, grinning like she's about to unlock your glow-up. Welcome to Fact 11. Dental and hair care in Abbasid Baghdad were so elite, they'd make your 2025 dentist and barber jealous. You're near the House of Wisdom, where scholars are debating math and scribes are copying manuscripts. The air smells like papyrus, grilled lamb, and a faint "did someone spill perfume?" You're dodging camels and a poet reciting love verses that sound like a bad ex-post. Dental and hair game here is next level, and you're about to get schooled. The Abbasid dental scene was a vibe. The Sahih al-Bukhari, compiled 846, reflecting 833 practices, quotes the Prophet Muhammad praising sawak, a twig from the Salvadora persica tree. As a must for oral hygiene, you're chewing the Sawak Emily Layla gave you, and it's like brushing with a spicy toothpick, fibrous, minty, and weirdly effective. Your teeth feel cleaner than after a Sonicare session, and you're like, why isn't this in CVS? Then you spot a scholar, Michael Yusuf, at a barber stall, getting his beard trimmed by a guy named John Hassan, who's got a vibe like a TikTok barber with 1 million followers. John Hassan offers to oil your hair, and you're like, let's do this. He pours argan oil, imported from Morocco, per the Kitab al-Jami, 9th century, and it's like a $50 conditioner, but stickier. Your scalp's tingling, and you're feeling like an Abbasid influencer, ready to post #hairgoals if X existed. Hair and beard care were status symbols. The Kitab al-Tarajim, biographies, circa 850, describes caliphs like Al-Mamun sporting glossy beards oiled with rose and argan, combed with ivory. Women like David's sister, Barbara Fatima, spent hours braiding their hair with jasmine oil. As noted in the Kitab al-Aghanit, you're getting a trim from John Hassan, but he's gossiping about Michael Yusuf's bad breath, and you're wondering if your Sawak game's strong enough. The downside? Not everyone could afford Sawak or oil. Peasants used salt or cloth, and the Baghdad medical records, 9th century, showed tooth decay was common from date-heavy diets. You're chewing Sawak, but Barbara Fatima's braiding your hair so tight you're seeing stars, and the oil's dripping like you're in a fryer. It's like a beauty salon at a festival, fancy but chaotic. You leave with fresh breath, shiny hair, and a new respect for medieval grooming. Fact 12. Hygiene in Islamic West Africa was prayer-driven in Timbuktu. You've been zapped forward to Timbuktu, Mali, in the summer of 1324. During the Mali Empire's peak under Mansa Musa, the city's a desert trade hub. Think Vegas, but with more camels and no slots. You're standing in the Sankor market, where caravans unload gold, salt, and manuscripts. The air's thick with dust, cumin, and a whiff of did that camel just fart. Your robe's now a cotton kaftan, breezy but sandy, and your sandals are caked with red dirt. You're dodging traders and kids juggling cola nuts. You're starving, so you grab a millet cake from a vendor, but it's drier than a stand-up comics X feed. One bite, and your throat's begging for mercy. Then, sneeze, you catch some Sahara dust. In 2025, you'd hit up a pharmacy. Here? That sneeze is your ticket to Mali's hygiene hustle, and it's got an Islamic twist. Fact 12. Hygiene in 1324. Timbuktu was driven by Islamic prayer rituals, with bathing as a must before worship. You're parched and dusty, your kaftan looking like it survived a sandstorm, and you're desperate to clean up. The locals, in vibrant turbans, give you the side eye because you're dustier than a forgotten NFT. Bathing here is non-negotiable. Islam requires wudu, ablution, before prayers, and Timbuktu's all. And Ibn Battuta, who visited in 1353, describing 1320's practices, notes in his Rila that Malians bathed in wells or the Niger River before heading to the Sankor Mosque. It's like how we shower before a big meeting, but with Allah as your boss and no room for slacking. You follow a crowd to a well near the Jingaribur Mosque, built circa 1320 by Mansa Musa. The air's hot and smells like clay, goats, and roasted peanuts. A grizzled imam, William Malik, is supervising wudu, handing out soap made from shea butter and palm ash. Per the Timbuktu Chronicles, 14th century, that you're splashing well water on your face, arms, and feet, and it's like a mini shower in a desert apocalypse, cool, gritty, but holy. William Malik's chanting prayers, and the crowd's washing like it's a synchronized swim team. You're like, this is my cleanse, but then a kid splashes you, and the soap's so slick you almost drop it. It's less spa and more spiritual car wash. Timbuktu's elite, like Mansa Musa's cousin, Thomas Amadou, had private bathhouses with clay pipes. As Ibn Battuta describes, peasants used wells or the Niger, but everyone prioritized wudu. Per the Maliki fiqh, Islamic law, dominant in Mali. The downside? Wells could dry up, and the Timbuktu tax records, 1320s, mention fights over water access. You're cleaner, but William Malik's yelling at a trader for washing his feet in the drinking well, and you're dodging a stray bucket like it's a dodgeball game. It's like a festival water fight with higher stakes. You leave, feeling pious but sandy, ready for one last hygiene flex. Fact 13. Moonlit bathing was a mystical vibe in Timbuktu. You're still in Timbuktu, 1324, strutting through Sankor market with your wudu glow, but the sun's setting, and you're craving one more bath to beat the desert grit. You ask William Malik for a spot, and he points you to a Niger River bend, where locals bathe under the moonlight to absorb energy. Welcome to Fact 13. Some Timbuktu folks bathed at night under the moon, believing it channeled spiritual power. The riverbanks lit by stars, and the air smells like wet sand, hibiscus, and a faint "did a fish die here?" You're dodging palm fronds and a camel that's giving you attitude. Moonlit bathing sounds like a TikTok wellness trend, but it's a Mali Empire flex, and you're about to dive in the Timbuktu oral histories. Recorded later but reflecting 1320s traditions, describe moonlit baths as a mix of Islamic and local Songhai beliefs, where the moon's light healed the soul. You're wading into the Niger, where a griot, Jessica Fatou, is singing epics while washing her hair with shea soap. The water's warm but murky, like a latte gone wrong, and you're like, is this spiritual or a swamp? Jessica Fatou insists the moon's energy cures fatigue. Per Griot Tales, Ibn Battuta mentions river baths, and the Sankor manuscripts, 14th century, hint at lunar rituals for health. You're splashing, feeling like a desert influencer, but a fish brushes your leg, and you're screaming like you're in Jaws. Elite women like Jessica Fatou used moonlit baths to enhance beauty, slathering on shea butter post-soak. Per the Malian Folklore Codex, 1350s, men joined too, but peasants bathed at dawn due to work, leaving moon vibes to the bougie. The downside? Night baths risked leeches, and the Timbuktu health logs note skin infections from dirty water. You're glowing, maybe literally, but Jessica Fatou's singing is drowning out your zen. And a kid's tossing pebbles in the river like it's a game. It's like a Coachella after party in a lake, magical but messy. You climb out, skin soft but feet muddy, thanking the moon for the vibes and praying you didn't catch anything. You've just been zapped to Tenochtitlan, Mexico, in the summer of 1450, during the Aztec Empire's peak under Moctezuma. The city's a floating masterpiece. Think Venice, but with pyramids, chinampas, floating gardens, and zero gondolas. You're standing on the Tlatelolco market, a chaotic bazaar packed with cacao vendors, feather weavers, and priests sacrificing, something you don't want to know about. The air hits you with a mix of maize, chili smoke, and a whiff of is that lake water or a sewer? Your fit is a cotton loincloth that's breezier than your gym shorts but leaves you feeling exposed. Your sandals slip on the stone paths, and you're dodging canoes and kids juggling tamales. You're starving, so you snag a maize tortilla with beans from a vendor, but it's spicier than a ghost pepper, and your mouth's staging a riot. One bite, and your stomach's like, you're canceled, bro. Then, achoo, you sneeze from the market dust. In 2025, you'd pop an Allegra and vibe. Here? That sneezes your ticket to the Aztec hygiene jungle, and it's about to get sacred. Fact 14, Aztecs bathed twice a day like it was a religion. First up, let's talk about how the Aztecs in 1450 Tenochtitlan bathed twice daily, treating cleanliness like a divine PowerPoint presentation to the gods. You're sweating buckets in Tlatelolco Market, your loincloth sticking to you like a bad TikTok trend, and you're begging for a shower. The locals, decked in feather headdresses and obsidian earrings, sighed. You because you're dirtier than a festival porta potty. Bathing here isn't just hygiene, it's a religious flex. The Historia de las Indias by Bartolomé de las Casas, 1520s, describing 1450s Aztec life, spills the tea. Aztecs bathed at dawn and dusk to honor Tlaloc, the rain god, and stay pure for rituals. It's like how we hit the gym twice a day to flex on Insta. But with gods who might smite you for skipping, you follow a crowd to a Temascal, a stone sweat lodge near the Templo Mayor, built circa 1420 during a Huitzol's reign. The air outside smells like copal incense and grilled maize, but inside? It's a steamy inferno, hot rocks, herbal steam, and a vibe like a sauna cranked to 11. You're greeted by Xochitl, a Temascal keeper with a vibe like a yoga instructor who's way too into sage. 5 cacao beans for a sweat, she chirps, and you trade your beans, hoping for a cleanse. The Temascal's dark, with walls carved with jaguars, and you're sitting on a reed mat next to a warrior named Quatli, who's sweating like he's auditioning for Survivor. Xochitl pours water on the rocks, and the steam hits like a dragon's breath, smelling of eucalyptus. And did someone burn a taco? You're like, this is my spa day. But then Quatli starts chanting to Tlaloc, and you're praying you don't pass out. Aztec bathing was hardcore. The Codex Mendoza, 1540s, reflecting 1450s culture, shows daily baths in Lake Texcoco or canals, with yucca root soap that lathered like a lush bath bomb. Nobles had private temazcals, while peasants splashed in Chinapa canals. Per Florentine Codex, you're scrubbing with yucca, feeling like a TikTok skincare guru, but the steam's so thick you can't see. Quatley, who's now singing like he's at a karaoke bar, the downside. Canals weren't always clean, and the Historia General notes skin rashes from lake bacteria. You're glowing, but Xochitl's yelling at a kid for sneaking maze into the temazcal, and you're dodging steam like it's a laser maze. It's like a Coachella sauna with extra gods. You stumble out, skin soft but lungs screaming, ready for a global hygiene roast. Fact 15. Global hygiene was a mixed bag of religion and resources. You've been zapped to Florence, Italy, in the spring of 1348, right as the Black Death is turning Europe into a zombie flick. You're standing in the Mercato Vecchio, a market buzzing with wool merchants, bakers, and priests preaching doom, the air's thick with olive oil, rotting vegetables, and a stench like did someone eat a chamber pot? Your fit is a wool tunic itchier than a cheap sweater, and your boots are sinking into the muddy cobblestones. You're dodging carts and a nun who's glaring like you stole her rosary. You're starving. So you grab a bread loaf from a vendor, but it's harder than a math exam, and your teeth are begging for mercy. Point one bite, and your stomach's like, we need to talk. Then, cough, you choke on the smoky AIR.IN 2025, you'd grab a mask and vibe, here? That cough's your cue to compare the world's hygiene game, and it's a wild spectrum. Fact 15. Medieval hygiene varied globally, driven by religion, climate, and resources. With each culture flexing its own cleanliness hacks. You're itching in Florence, dreaming of a bath, but the locals are too busy praying to notice your B.O., the Decameron by Boccaccio, 1353. Describing 1348 Florence, hints at Europe's bathing phobia. Water was dangerous, unlike Song China's daily soaks or Aztec double dips. You y'all need to talk to Tenochtitlan. Let's break it down. Ian Lamon, 1127, Permon Luong Luke, Song Chinese bathed in herbal tubs, a flex tied to Confucian harmony, with soap that'd make L'Occitane jealous. Ian Kamakura, 1192, the Azuma Kagami shows Shinto-driven river baths to please the kami, colder than a polar plunge but holy. Ian Baghdad, 833, Kitab al-Tabiq describes hammams as social hubs, with olive soap and steam that'd make a spa blush. Ian Timbuktu, 1324, Ibn Battuta's Rila notes wudu baths for prayer, using shea soap in desert wells. Aztecs in 1450 Tenochtitlan bathed twice daily, per Codex Mendoza, to honor Tlaloc, with temazcals hotter than a TikTok scandal. You're in a tavern, the Drunken Olive, where a merchant named Giovanni's ranting about barbaric hygiene. You're like, bro, Europe's the barbarian here. Climate shaped the game. Europe's cold winters discouraged bathing. Unlike Baghdad's balmy Tigris or Tenochtitlan's lake vibes, resources mattered too. China's tea seed soap and Mali's shea butter were elite, while Florence's peasants used lye that burned like regret. Per Florentine Guild records, 1340s, religion was the MVP. Shinto, Islam, and Aztec rituals demanded cleanliness, but Christianity was like, nah, dirt's holy. Per rule of Saint Benedict, you're sipping ale, gagging at the taverns. Stench, while Giovanni's dunking on heathen baths. The Chronicle of Florence, 1348, notes plague deaths tied to filth, proving Europe's hygiene eld. You're dodging a spilled chamber pot, dreaming of Aztec canals, and wondering if you can pitch soap to the Pope. It's like a global hygiene roast, and Florence is getting dragged. Fact 16, poor hygiene fueled plagues in medieval Europe. Uri still in London, England. 1347, zap back to the grimy streets of Cheapside, just before the Black Death eats half the population. The air's a toxic cloud of manure, smoke, and did someone die in that alley? Your tunic's now a biohazard, and your boots are stuck in a puddle that's definitely not watered. You're dodging pigs and a butcher tossing guts into the street. You're starving, but the pie from earlier's still haunting you. So you pass on a sketchy meat skewer, then, sneeze, you catch some alley dust. In 2025, you'd sanitize and chill. Here? That sneeze is a red flag, because fact 16, poor hygiene in 1347 London fueled massive plagues like the Black Death. The Black Death, hitting London in late 1347, killed 30 to 50% of Europe. Per the Chronicle of Greyfriars, 1350s, filth was the MVP, open sewers, unwashed bodies, And rats throwing flea raves made cities like Cheapside a plague playground. You're in a tavern, the Rusty Tankard, where a tanner named What's bragging about his natural musk, which smells like a landfill orgy. The London, a size of nuisance, 1340s, records complaints about neighbors dumping waste in streets, creating foul stenches that spread miasma. You're gagging, but what's like, baths cause plague? A vibe backed by physicians like John of Aldgate, citing Galen's 2nd century texts. It's like 2025 anti-vaxxers swearing Wi-Fi causes cancer, but with deadlier stakes. You're weaving through Cheapside, where chamber pots rain from windows with a shouted Gardaloo. Like dodging a TikTok prank gone wrong, the coroner's rolls, 1340s, list deaths from infections tied to filthy water, and archaeological digs, Archaeological Journal, 14th century skeletons. Show abscesses from unwashed skin. You're itching, praying for a hazmat suit, while a priest named Cedric blames the plague on sinful bathing. The irony? Bathing could have saved lives, but Europe was allergic to soap. Unlike Baghdad's hammams or Aztec Temascals, you're dodging rats like it's a horror game. And what's coughing like he's patient zero? It's like living in a petri dish with no exit. You escape the tavern, swearing to invent Purell, but the plague's coming, and London's filth is its hype man. Fact 17. Some Europeans brushed their teeth with urine. You read back in London, 1347, still in Cheapside, where the stench is now your personal nemesis. Your mouth's a war zone from that bread loaf in Florence, and your teeth feel like they're auditioning for a horror flick. You ask what for a toothbrush, and he hands you a jar of urine, grinning like he's pranking you on Punk'd. Welcome to Fact 17. Some Londoners in 1347 used urine to brush their teeth, thinking it was the key to a Hollywood smile. You're near St. Paul's Cathedral, where the market's buzzing with fishmongers and a tooth puller named Godfrey waving rusty pliers like a serial killer. The air smells like fish, mud, and did someone bottle that jar in hell? Dental care here is a cursed DIY, and you're about to gag. Urine as a dental hack came from Roman times. Pliny the Elder's Naturalis Historia, 77 CE, praised its ammonia for whitening teeth, and lingered in medieval Europe. Per regimen sanitatis salernitanum, 13th century, used in 1347, that you're staring at Wat's jar, which he swears is fresh from his neighbor's outhouse, and you're like, bro, I'd rather eat dirt. He dips a cloth in it and scrubs his teeth, which are yellower than a minion. You try it, and it's like gargling battery acid, stinging, sour, and so gross you're seeing your life flash before you. What's like? Keeps him pearly, but his breath smells like a porta potty at Burning Man. It's like a 2025 hack where someone swears apple cider vinegar cures everything, but way nastier. The London Guild Records, 1340s, show barbers like Godfrey selling urine-based tonics for teeth, often mixed with vinegar or herbs to mask the vibe. Peasants used it most, while nobles stuck to wine rinses. Per household accounts of Edward III, the ammonia kinda worked as an antiseptic. But the Archaeological Journal shows rampant cavities from starchy diets. You're scrubbing, but Godfrey's pulling a molar from a screaming customer, blood flying like a Tarantino flick. The crowd's betting on the guy's survival, and you're dodging urine splashes like it's a hazmat zone. It's like a dental convention in a dystopian novel. You flee, teeth clean but soul broken, vowing to invent Colgate if you ever get back to 2025. Yo, fam, that's the final T on Medieval Hygiene. Aztecs bathed like champs. The world was a hygiene roller coaster. Europe's filth birthed plagues, and urine was a dental flex. You're back in 2025, smelling like regret and hugging your toothbrush. What's the nastiest hygiene hack you've heard? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more time travel chaos. Catch you in the next banger.